Well, UC Bearcat fans, it's UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth radio network, brought to you by James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster. Mark, what have the Bearcats been up to?
Well, James, the Cinderella run came to an end. And I don't even want to say it was a Cinderella run because the season was just so damn good. But, Alabama beat our boys in the Cotton Bowl. And, realistically, I think we all kind of thought that it would happen. But we still, both of us had said it was either going to be a blowout for Alabama or a close one for UC, and it ended up being a blowout for Alabama. And it happens, but I do have to tell you, the boys played hard and they showed well. I don't think they were embarrassed at all. Exactly. As a matter of fact, I feel that they played Alabama better than Michigan played Georgia.
Very true. I was going to say that's the big thing. They, might have lost by, more than the spread, but compared to a lot of the people in the playoffs, where they've been a lot worse.
Yeah, James. I mean, it really came down to, and you said this last week, that it was going to be, that a lot of it was going to be in the trenches, and it really was. At one point, and you'll have to forgive me, I forget who the commentators were. I think Todd Blackledge, maybe. He said that you could just tell a difference in the linemen. Mm-hmm. The SEC linemen were bigger, and and they may not have been bigger size-wise, at least off the stats, but they were stronger. And I think he actually said it was the lower body where you could tell the big difference in the linemen compared to
stronger, faster.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Alabama's offensive line, you could see from on that first drive. I mean, they ran 12 plays, and I think 11 of them were runs. Or it might have been 10 plays or 11 plays and 10 were runs. They threw one pass, and it ended up being the touchdown. They just came out and they said, you know what, this is going to be big boy ball, and let's see if you can hang. And I think UC did a good job. Very disappointing offensive first half, I think. And James, again, if memory serves me right, I don't think the Bearcats had 100 yards of offense in the first half.
They did not.
I think it was like in the 76-yard range, I think, is what I remember seeing. But again, they lost, but it's hard to feel bad about it.
I agree with you. I mean, they lost to the number one team in the country. They put up a good game. It's really hard to find a lot, to complain about. I mean, it has been a great season. They've done some phenomenal things, and they got something that they can be proud of.
I think so, man. I mean, that's something that's never going to be taken away from these kids, and it's a good foundation for Luke Fickell to grow the program on, because, I mean, honestly, it really doesn't sound like he's going anywhere, James. Knock on wood, but it really doesn't sound like he's going anywhere. He wants to build this program, and then listening to all the kids talk in the pregame, the day before the game and the days after, they're talking about how this is a program that Luke wants to build into one of the top 10 programs in the country. And I think that this showing will do that. I think my hope is that, we can get out of the 3- and 4-star recruits and get into the 4- and 5-star recruits thanks to what they did.
Yeah, I was going to say the big difference is compared to, say, like 2009. One, they didn't get blown out, and two, they're not losing their coach.
Right. And I think that's huge. I think that is absolutely huge. And, I think it was Lance McAllister or Mo Hager, one of those two, said, if you let this game define the season, then you kind of lost sight of all the good that was done in this season, and it's going to catapult them. I don't know how many more years they're going to have in the AAC. I think 2025 is like the official move date to the Big 12, but I know there was some kind of negotiations going on in the back, hopefully maybe getting out a little bit earlier. I think as long as they're in the AAC, they're going to be held back a little bit because it's that, it's the group of five, not the Power Five. But once they get into that Power Five conference, man, this is going to be a really fun program.
Exactly. You're 100% right on that it really matters when they do end up changing things. I mean, like you said, it's projected 2025, maybe 2024 if we're lucky. Obviously, next year we're still going to be in the AAC. Yeah, I mean, shoot, they're still trying to figure all that stuff out, and obviously there's a lot of money that goes into it, way above our pay grades. I mean, the SEC, had they decided if Oklahoma and Texas are 2022 or 2023 or 2024, something like that?
I don't know. I think 2024 was the last I had heard. So maybe 2024 is when we could get into the Big 12. But, if they can negotiate a buyout for the 2023 season, then maybe we could get into the Big 12 in the 2023 season. And I hate to say this, but I think next year it's going to be a struggle for UC to get back to where they were solely because of the conference. Because people will say, oh, they ran their conference last year, and what happened? And James, you'll have to forgive me because this is my own ignorance. I'm not sure who the non-conference games are next year for UC.
Oh, yeah, no, that's easy. Yeah, I was going to say it's Miami of Ohio because we always play Miami of Ohio. Always. And then we actually have a couple really good ones. Indiana comes down to us because we went there last year. And then, which this other one just makes no sense, but I'm glad for it, Arkansas, at Arkansas.
Okay, and that's a good one. That's a good one. The Indiana one worries me a little bit because I don't know if it's going to be seen as quality because of how far Indiana fell off this year. But the Arkansas one, Arkansas went and beat Penn State in their bowl game. They've got that new coach who has revitalized the program. So we will, that's a good one. That's a good one. So hopefully, those non-conference wins can do something for them, provided they can win them. So we'll see. Next year could be a little bit of a drop-off just because we're going to have a new quarterback, Prater or whomever plays quarterback. I'm assuming it's going to be Evan Prater.
It's Prater.
But, we'll see. And then this brings me to the next thing. We're losing two of our studs to the draft. Ford declared for the draft, which is going to hurt. There's no two ways about it. And then the one that's really going to hurt is, but we knew this was coming, Sauce Gardner has declared for the draft. Just today, I think he declared. And, that's going to hurt. So there's going to be a little bit of a drop-off there. But if UC wants to become that program, we need to have the next man step up and see how they do. And next year is a good year to see that.
And the nice thing is they were able to do it this year with the safeties and some of the line because they had it was two really great safeties that went to the pros last year, and I know that was a concern on the defense. And then, of course, the line was a concern going into the season because losing two as well to the NFL. So, this year, of course, it'll be two corners that we're worried about, and having to replace them, and then Ford. So do you think, pretty much because he's a running back and there's a short lifespan on running backs, he was going no matter what? Or do you feel that it was anything to do with his yards in the game or not getting enough touches or any of that kind of BS?
No, James, I think you hit the nail on the head with that first one. I think the short lifespan of running backs in the pros, and quite honestly, I don't know that this is going to be a huge year for running backs in the draft. I think it's a good move by him. And then the thing is, Ford is the kind of running back that he probably won't be taken much before the second or third day of the draft. But you look at the running backs who are in the pros now. Other than like Joe Mixon and Christian McCaffrey and those guys, a lot of them are later round picks. Because you get that good, solid running back behind those professional lines, and they can do a number. So I think Ford is a prototypical pro running back. His size, his speed, So I think this is a good year for him to go. It's a good move on his part, and as fans, we can really we really just need to wish him well, and thank him for what he did here, because he had an outstanding season.
Somewhere you just made him cry. Your boy, Ezekiel Elliott. I was going to say, you're talking about top running backs. You're an Ohio State guy, and you don't even mention Zeke.
You know what? Because I honestly, because he's been kind of replaced by who's the other running back out there who's doing really well for them. Because they're the two-headed monster out there in Dallas, and the running backs. And it was a later round kid who's doing just as well as he does. But you look at the Dallas Cowboys as a cautionary tale, because they didn't take and for the life of me, I can't remember the kid's name, but the other running back besides Zeke, he wasn't a high-round pick. And he has come in and is doing very well. I think the Dallas Cowboys are a perfect example of running backs in the pros.
That's a good point. That you're right. Sometimes if you're reaching for a running back in the first couple rounds, it's probably not a good investment. Other than like your other one you mentioned, McCaffrey. I mean, and he's not a running back in my opinion. He's a Swiss Army knife. And, I know that they're never going to call it that as a position, but being a hybrid, being as much of a receiver as he is a running back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is great for fantasy football players, because you can get those receiving yards. But, I think if you are a professional team and you are drafting high, you need to do you need more than a running back. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
The Bengals last year, Jamar Chase was the right pick for them, because he has proven that he is I don't want to say generational talent, but he's a stud. But they couldn't have gone wrong by drafting Penei Sewell either. So if you are drafting early, you got to look at quarterback, you got to look at line, and I just, maybe somebody in the late, I don't want to say first round, but late second round may take a flyer on somebody like Ford because of his size and his speed. But, I think for him, I would think that second or third day is best. Now, on the flip side of the coin, you got Sauce Gardner, who
first rounder.
I want him to last until the Bengals, and it just isn't going to happen. It's
no chance.
This kid is a top 10 draft pick in my eyes, and I don't think I'm going out on too far of a limb. There's some draft guys that I talk to who feel that he is a top 10, and with reason. I mean, dude is a stud.
Yeah, I feel he's definitely going to go up the list closer we get to the draft. I mean, right now, gosh, they have him at, what I want to say, 15 or 16.
Yeah, I think McShay's big board just posted today has him in the 15 to 16 range. So, and that means that he will probably go before that, just because there are going to be some cornerback needy teams.
Exactly.
And man, that kid made himself a ton of money this year, especially with the way he played in the Cotton Bowl. I mean, quite honestly, Alabama had to run the ball because of how he was taking people out of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Because like you said, they're saying, a lot of them are saying, the more knowledgeable are saying 15 and 16. And then, we had a couple people, which I don't believe them, they said he was going to drop down to Buffalo at 25, which is just ridiculous. There's no chance.
Yeah. No chance. I'm flipping through McShay's draft that he published just today, and he has Ahmad Gardner going 15th. So he's got him. He's got him rated as the 15th player.
Okay.
In there, so he doesn't really have him who he's going to, but he has him projected as the 15th pick, ahead of Kenny Pickett, the quarterback from Pittsburgh, ahead of Matt Corral, the quarterback at Ole Miss. So I mean, he has won. His previous rank was 21, so he moved up eight spots. So he's made himself some money.
Yeah, because I was reading it wrong. So the reason why they have him going down to 25 is not because of his overall ranking. They got him as 17th. It's just they're saying because of his position. Okay. But I can't imagine that people are, going to not need, going to pass on top quality cornerbacks.
I will tell you this. If Ahmad Gardner is still on the draft board when the Bengals are picking, I will gas up my Durango and drive to wherever he is and pick him up and drive him to the Bengals front offices, because that is a player they need.
It is. I agree with you. Getting sturdy up that defense a little more, yeah. Because those are the two areas, defense, which is overachieved this year, and then you got the line, which people always are, in favor of the Bengals getting more line help.
And they are, I think, and we've gone off on a pro tangent here just a little bit, but I think the Bengals I think Sauce, if he was there, would be the perfect pick. If he's not there, they need to go offensive line, I think, because of what they've proven, But I think, he is good. He is really good. It doesn't matter where he played. We were fortunate that he was here at Cincinnati. He could have played for any team in the country and gathered the kind of notoriety he has because of how good he is.
Exactly. And if they don't get him, they can always go at day 2 or day 3 and get Kobe Bryant.
Exactly. I how I feel about Ohio State football. I've been a fan forever. I love seeing UC get up towards that level. They're not there yet. They have to have some sustained success. But seeing players that UC get those pro mentions, those first-round mentions, that's what we need for the UC program to take that next step that we talk about, to get into that top 10 in the country, that perennial power kind of level, So I think this year laid a very solid foundation, man. I mean, as solid as you can, because this was a great team. I don't feel bad saying that. This was a great team. I would put them up against other teams of the past from other programs. So I think that this is the kind of thing that can catapult this program. And if you think back a year ago, we were talking about that loss to Georgia in the bowl game, but we kind of had this same sort of talk. We talked about how that could catapult them, and then they just built on top of it. So now let's keep building on top of what we did this year.
Very true. I was going to say, as you've been saying, things are going in the right direction. It's just one of those things we need to enjoy and just, really appreciate while it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, James, this is going to be one of those teams where 15 and 20 years down the road, people are saying, hey, this UC program, if they are where we want them to be in 10 years, they will look back and say that 2021 team that played in the college football playoffs, and yeah, they lost to Alabama, but that's where it started. And I think that we are on the ground floor of this, and we really do need to enjoy this ride, because this could be once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Definitely. So we got football, unfortunately, is done for the year, but of course we'll talk periodically as we see more of the draft updates and some of the other players, but unfortunately there really isn't much left with that. So let's switch over to basketball.
A little disappointing. They lost to who was that? Tulane.
Tulane, yeah.
It's at
They're the same team. Yeah.
They should not have lost that game. They came out super flat, man. They only scored 20-something points in the first half. This is where this team's going to get in trouble, is they will chuck up shots, and if they're not hitting, man, it's ugly. And it was an ugly first half. Now, the second half was much better. What they were down, what was it? They were down 48-25 at halftime. And they lost 68-60, so they only gave up 20 points in the second half. But that first half was rough.
Oh, yeah, that was horrible. How do you go out, and be down so much? Fortunately, like you said, they did rally back. They did show some heart. They really did try. But, yeah, it's just that first half being so darn bad.
Yeah, and where we got hurt was Tulane's guards. Cook had 20 points. Forbes had 13 points. to be their two leading scorers. And then, the inside guys didn't do poorly. I mean, their one big guy, Cross, had 11 points, but, it was just rough. It was a rough game. It was hard to watch in the first half. The second half was a little bit better, like you said, because they came out, and you can tell Miller ripped them one at halftime about how they were playing, because their defense came out and held them to 20 points in the half. That's pretty darn good. It's just, and they scored 35 in the second half. It's just, it wasn't enough.
I'm just surprised Victor didn't start.
Me too. I'm not sure why, unless it's because, Tulane basically runs a 4-guard offense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm wondering if that played something into it. But, I'm surprised too.
Yeah, I thought that at first, but then I'm like, Abdullah started, and he definitely isn't on the short side of anything.
No, not at all. But, he only gave him, 5 points. Victor ended up scoring 8. If given the same amount of time, I would like to know what Victor could have done. But, again, that's a coaching decision, and that's above our pay grade.
Yeah, very true.
Even though there's, 15 assistant coaches.
Exactly. Yeah, because I was going to say, looking at rebound, but then again, Abdullah, maybe he was right. Abdullah 7 rebounds to 4. It was just a tough game. Losing like that in the first half, and then So, and then let's see, we got Thursday coming up. They're playing SMU, and Sunday they're playing at Memphis, and 2 tough games.
Yeah, 2 tough games, and 2 good chances to rebound from how poorly they played. SMU is 11-3. The little ESPN matchup predictor says that SMU is a slight favorite. I think 53 to 47% chance of victory. So it'll be interesting to see how they come out. And again, I guess we need to say this is all predicated on them actually playing the game. With all the COVID stuff going on. But it's a good chance for them to rebound. And then like you said, they play Memphis after that, and Memphis surprisingly is 7-5 right now. I expected them to be a little bit better. So, but it's still 2 good chances to just show that the last game was maybe a little bit of an anomaly. We'll see.
Yeah, that does seem odd that they, are doing so poor on the season.
Yeah, I'm looking to see their last 5 games. Well, they beat Wichita State big. But let's see, they lost to Tulane actually by a point, and then they lost to Murray State and Ole Miss, and they actually lost to Georgia as well, a team that UC had played. But we'll see. Let's get through that SMU game and then turn our attention to Memphis and see what happens. I think I think if they can go 1-1 through these 2 games, it's really good. But we can't be surprised if they go 0-2. Because, again, this is a new team. New in the sense of new coach, trying to get used to how to play. I think they came out and showed us that against Tulane,
You have to give Memphis credit. They've played a tough schedule. They played Alabama. They've, Ole Miss and Georgia and Virginia Tech, Iowa State.
They played a good schedule, and actually right now as we are speaking, I believe they're playing Tulsa and they're beating them pretty good. But that's Tulsa. So we'll see what happens. Again, like I said, I think coming through this at 1-1 would be good. And James, to tell you the truth, UC's next 4 games are against teams with winning records, and some pretty. East Carolina is 9-3. And we play them next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So, we'll see.
Sounds good. Any final thoughts before we let the fans go?
Nah, James, I just, like you said, and like we said all through the football season, we need to enjoy what happened this past season. We can't let a loss to Alabama, the number one team in the country, and the legit number one team in the country, we can't let a loss to them ruin our season, ruin all the good things they did. So I think we are getting in on the ground floor of something special here, so we need to enjoy the run.
Exactly. So for James, Ernest, and Mark Fightmaster, it's been UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Grueling Truth Radio Network.